We have Michael Bolton in the seat next to us. Michael is as far as I know, Michael's a very popular test consultant from that country that's right above the U.S. I'm an American. I forget what the actual name of that country is. But Michael, thanks for being with us. We have I don't know, it's kind of a softball question for you, but what do you think the state of the context-driven community is?
Well, I'm just looking at this stuff that you've got set up here.
The contraption that we've got going.
This is so cool. I mean, I'm blown away. I hadn't really noticed. I saw one camera. Then I realized, my God, there's two other cameras here. And then you've got a switcher in front of you.
Yes, I do. Actually, I'll hold it up for
there
that,
goes.
That's what he's looking at.
He's going from shot to shot to shot. He's doing this all in real time. The context-driven community has suddenly got all cool.
We've gone
high
tech.
Cool
I think.
Toys, high tech. Just before we went on the air, I was spritzing with Tim across the table here, and I was mentioning, this is so cool. It's like being at Radiolab. And Radiolab is something I had forgotten. I thought, Tim, you had introduced it to me, but it turns out that it was Joey McAllister who introduced it to me. He gets the credit for that, but now I get to tell everybody else about Radiolab.
That's right.
This wonderful thing. It makes me think of the context-driven community in this sense. We have the luxury of getting ideas from everywhere. That's one of the cool things about this community. We welcome ideas from other disciplines and from other contexts. Cam Kaner in 2008, I think, did a talk on I guess he set the theme for the conference, and then as a conference chair, I got to pick it up and run with it. Mm-hmm. Interdisciplinary approaches to software testing, and that's what we get, and that's one of the more exciting things that I think is central to the state of our community, which is that we get ideas from all over every place. So in conversations that I've had with people here at the conference, this theme has come up over and over again. I was chatting with Greg Melnick about this book, which is currently taking some of us by storm, this book, A Tacit and Explicit Knowledge by Harry Collins. He was responding to my keynote, in which I suggested a number of disciplines that we need to get ideas from: anthropology, journalism, psychology, philosophy. He mentioned one that I left out, which is medicine. Medicine, there's a book called How Doctors Think by Jerome Grootman, and another one called Better, about performance in medicine by Atul Gawande. Here's a heuristic for you. If you want a really good source of interesting ideas that you can draw into testing, go for the New Yorker magazine, right? Because both those guys, Jerome Grootman and
writing that down.
Well, that's where Malcolm Gladwell's a staff writer, right? It's he's a staff writer. Jerome Grootman, the guy who wrote How Doctors Think, he's a staff writer, or at least was, for the New Yorkers. Atul Gawande, the guy who wrote the Checklist Manifesto that Kim cited in 2008. It was just coming out then. It's been out for a couple of years now. All these different disciplines feed into what we get to learn about testing. That's the fun part for me, and I'm seeing this rich set of ideas. Rob Sabarin, who's going to be on the program later, as I understand. Yeah. Rob is another guy who draws all these things in from all kinds of places, including really silly ones, like Rob's hallmark, Rob's sort of signature piece is testing ideas from X, where X is Monty Python's Flying Circus, The Simpsons. And then on more serious notes, he did a talk a few years ago about testing ideas that have come from triage in intensive care units for infants.
I remember hearing about that.
In a community like that, how can you not be excited by all these ideas coming in? It's fabulous. Yeah. So that's one of the things that really excites me about the state of the community. The other is we're starting to win. Right? We're starting to get these little victories in these places where, for example, James has been working over the last couple of years. James Bach has been working with a medical device company and has been doing two things. He's been teaching them a lot about testing, but he's also been learning a lot about what's happening in regulated medicine. Griffin Jones did a talk about testing in a highly regulated environment, which was really exciting because we need to learn a lot of stuff from people like Griffin. And leading up to that talk, there was an email thread that went around, which I hope to be able to turn into an article, or if I don't, I hope somebody does, between a bunch of people who are working in those kinds of contexts. Ben, you're one of those people. You were on that thread.
I was on that thread.
So that's really exciting. We're starting to develop a wider body of ideas, a wider body of knowledge. James and Anne-Marie did a talk on coaching, in which they're looking at some of the heuristics. So now we've got a whole bunch of stuff to look at in education. And
we're actually going to talk to her a little bit tonight about that, which will be exciting.
Right. So I think each year, we've got more and more exciting stuff, and it's because of this small C Catholic approach that we have, where we're trying to look at how testing is done in the world. Testing is not just a branch of computer science. In fact, computer science really doesn't have a lot to say about testing. If you look at the way universities are organized, the computer science is a branch of the math department. The computer science department is a branch of the math faculty. Well, this isn't just math we're dealing with. I mean, this gizmo here, right, my little eye thing here, this is not a mathematical device. Oh, there's a calculator on it. Hooray. This thing here does so many different things for me. It has so many different applications to it. These protean machines. I love that word. A protean machine is a machine that can morph into all kinds of other machines. But these are the most protean devices yet invented. Yeah. They can be so many things to so many different people. Movies, games, personal productivity, organizers, schedules. This thing woke me up in the morning. It allowed me to broadcast what's going on at the conference to the world. And by the way, you can also call people with it, which is like the coolest thing. So because the things that we're testing and because the things that we're developing have so many different applications and so many different things in the world, we need that. We need to understand how people get value out of pushing electrons through sand, right? Yeah. And it's far more than just the doing of that, right? If that's all there were to it, it would not actually be very interesting. It's all the other things that go into it, all the different ways that we can extract value for it. That is like this fry pan at this organization with all these different dishes and all these different ingredients bubbling up and hissing and boiling and popping and snapping. And it's just really energizing to come here and be immersed in it. It's great.
Yeah. Awesome.
So in your assessment, is the context-driven community moving forward quickly enough? Is the pace rapid enough for you?
It's kind of like a roller coaster, right? It can be overwhelming. So it requires sometimes some focusing, and sometimes I have to walk away from sessions. I hear a lot of that from people that, oh, geez, I can't wait to get back to the hotel because my brain's so full. It'd be really hard to do this every day, but it reminds me of my first real job at a real computer company. The guy who was responsible for training me, at one point I said, man, there's a lot of stuff going on. He said, it's a slow day here when you don't learn 5 new interesting things. Well, it's a slow day at CAST when you don't learn 15 interesting new things and get all these book references and all these ideas and debates and arguments and insights, and is it happening fast enough? It might be. You know, as I said, we're starting to win. We're starting to get some penetration into the outside world. Exploratory testing is now a word that you can actually utter in, or a pair of words that you can actually utter in lots of places where you weren't able to do that 5 years ago. And I think that has a lot to do with the way that the community has been developing. The other thing that I see, which is really exciting, is I just checked. I'm a week away from my 50th birthday. I'm officially an old guy, right? I'm now, you know, I'm getting there. But what I see are many more people than there were before. There's a doubling or a trebling of people much younger than we who were here 5 years ago. There's a lot more people, and they're a lot younger, which means that the dinosaurs are going to get squeezed out. I hope that's the case. And there's a lot of energy there. Tim and Ben, both of you are members of that, but I see so many other folks associated with that. The board is getting younger and younger all the time. That's great.
Yep.
So I'm really excited about that too.
Let's see. So we only have a couple more minutes, Michael, but any like last minute impressions from the conference?
From the conference. There's it's kind of cool. There's a number of things I think that are different about this. Mm-hmm. And one thing that's really different about it that is starting to spread is that we're seeing more and more instances of people actually doing testing here, right? Eurostar set up a test lab a few years ago. James Lindsay did that, who's a sort of kind of distant cousin to our community. And he and Bart Nock have now got it such that at the mainstream testing conferences like Eurostar, like the STAR conferences, there's now a test lab there. People actually doing the things that we're talking about. At this conference, I also noticed something else. There are fewer vendors here. There are fewer tool vendors here. Our focus is less on being a marketing show than a marketplace of ideas. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a hallmark of what we do in this community. And to the extent that we did it a little bit before, it's becoming less and less and less and less. That's a mixed blessing because, of course, with sponsorship from those kinds of things come revenue. So that's a challenge that we face. How do we get sponsorship for people who are selling ideas instead of tools on which you can get a lot of revenue really quickly? Well, we may have to become more self-sustaining. That's okay. I'd be pretty happy about that, I think.
Yeah.
Great.
The organizers have done a fantastic job too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Small numbers of people.
Absolutely.
It's been a smaller team this year, and boy, they've done a bang-up job. They've made it really smooth. They've taken all the hallmarks of a peer conference for 20 people, and they scaled it up for 200 people. Yeah. And it's just gone as smooth as silk from my perspective. I hope it's been that easy for them.
Yeah. Awesome.